What's up guys? Welcome na naman sa akin munting channel at kung first time nyo pa lang, please subscribe at click the notification bell para lagi kayong updated sa akin mga video. At sa gusto mo magpa-shoutout, comment lang kayo sa comment section para shoutout ko kayo sa susunod mga video. So guys, simulan na natin. Panoorin natin itong isang napaka-genius na Filipino boy, 16 years old. Nagdidebate sila about prejudice. So ngayon guys, maraming sila Indonesia, United Kingdom, and Japan yung mga kadebate. So panoorin na lang natin guys. So maganda to.
Discussion on the roots of prejudice. We'll be talking about what our prejudices are, where they came from, how they're nourished, and perhaps even how to get rid of them. Let me introduce you to the 4 student participants in today's discussion. Ratnati Iskandardinata,
Indonesia.
17 years.
So parang Pilipino lang din, no? Yan yung mga kalahi natin.
From Japan.
Cute na nga, Japanese, oh.
Lovely voice you've just heard. From time to time we like
Parang ano na siya, parang hybrid na tinatawag. Yung parang may lahi na siya na kuhan, banyaga.
From the United Kingdom, 18-year-old Judith Reeder. Judith's got a bit of a cold today. It did not come from swimming in the Atlantic Ocean, although she assures us that when she's in England, she does swim in the ocean during the winter. From the Philippines, Raul Contreras. Raul will be 16 years
Simple
old
lang eh.
enough on the 4th of July. He may admit some prejudices, but one he obviously doesn't.
Pero tignan lang natin, parang ano lang, simple lang siya eh. Kung umano eh.
3 women being the only male on the program. Now,
Tingnan niya, isang lalaki lang siya, tapos yung kadebate niya, 3 babae. Parang medyo nahihiya pa siya sa pero magkadikit sila ng Japanese girl.
To other people.
you say a feeling of hate. Do you think prejudice is as strong as hate?
Yes. When we ask somebody if he has a prejudice, then the answer will be, I hate such and such.
Well, I suppose that is true. What do you think prejudice is, Eureka?
Well, I have found out that if somebody distinguish between 2 white men, it is not prejudice. But if somebody distinguish between a white man and a colored man, it is prejudice.
Yes.
I would define prejudice as a rigid opinion formed about a certain thing before there has been a just examination of the facts.
When a person loses track of the dignity of the human soul,
Boses no? Parang matured talaga eh.
they're being persons, but on the basis of race, creed, economic status, that is prejudice.
Well, is it fair to ask you whether you have
Talino.
prejudices?
Well, I guess so, Mrs. Waller. And being brutally frank, I'm prejudiced against Japanese. Well, not to the extent that I hate them. No, not that way. But I got this, well, as a result of World War II. Because, well, I guess I was yet too young to understand what happened during those times.
Yes.
But I think that what my relatives and friends and the people who were witness to that unfaithful occasion, well, they just more than justify the fact. And I think it's justified for me to feel the same way because, well, I know that my people suffered very much under that rule.
You
Oh,
still
yes.
prejudiced against
So yan.
the Japanese as you were?
Well, 5 years ago, that prejudice of mine was, well, slightly fading away. But when Japan stubbornly refused to pay reparations to us, the prejudice began to brew again. But now I found out from close contact with Yuriko and other Japanese that Japan isn't ready to pay reparations yet. Because as Yuriko said, some of them, and most of them, even have to suffer the cold in the classrooms because they can't afford to heat the schools.
Eureka, you've got any prejudices?
Well, I don't have any prejudice for Philippines, but many Japanese people hate Korea because the president of Korea made the line, his own line, on the public sea between Korea and Japan. And if the Japanese fishermen go over the line, they are caught by Korean people, and they can't go home for a while. And we are trying to be a friend for Korea.
Now that we've started, we better go on around the circle. Judith, you got any prejudices that you admit?
Yes, I suppose I'd better admit them, although I'm English. I have some very foolish prejudices. You'll probably laugh. For instance, as soon as I meet a person with red hair, I always put myself on my guard because I have a silly prejudice that all red-headed people have terrible tempers, you know, that they're as passionate as the color of their hair. Oh, and then I have another silly prejudice. For example, when I first met the Australian delegate, Elizabeth Woodgate, who has been on television, I was shocked by her accent, because to me it sounds just like a Cockney accent would in England. And I hope I'm not conceited or anything, but a Cockney accent in England, you know, most English people would shudder a little bit when they hear it. But she very frankly told me that she shuddered when she heard my accent. So I got paid back for that, too.
Why did she say she did?
Oh, I think she imagines that... she said she really had to forget my accent in order to like me, because it was too formal. I gather most Americans think about the English as well. So.
Ratnati, it's your turn.
Well, sometimes I find prejudice against the Dutch people when in school when I learn the history and learn how the Dutch people treated Indonesian. And I have some other prejudices of my own that
Indonesian is parang ano lang din.
were proud
Pilipina, mga, yan ang mga kalahi natin talaga
the
na ano eh.
master of the other people and
Asian,
thinks that he knows everything than anybody.
Brunei,
Let's come back to you,
parang mga
Miss.
Pilipino na din. Nandun sa Malaysia, parang mga ano din. Pero halo na yung ano din sa Malaysia eh.
Yes, there are existing prejudices between groups of people. As a matter of
Parang
fact,
matured talaga yung ano niya eh, boses eh, no?
well, our prejudice against a group
Genius
of
talaga eh.
those who have more Spanish blood than Filipino blood in them, and we term them as mestizos.
Yes,
Well,
or hybrid.
Well, these incidents usually occur in the schools. As you know, I'm in a school run by Spanish monks, and we have a lot of we have a lot of those of that group studying in our school, and usually they are favored, but we think. And, we think that we are right in saying that they are sort of aristocratic, conceited, and high-headed, and sore-headed, and all sorts of adjectives. And they have the foolish idea that they have the royal blood or royalty in them.
Well, how do you get along with these boys in school, Raoul? Are there any problems?
Well, frankly speaking, I don't get along with them pretty well. As a matter of fact, we usually fight with one another.
Is there any problem? Yes, Eureka.
Yes, Japan have had many American or European soldiers after the war, and most of them married with Japanese girls, not only formal wedding, and they made children who called hybrid.
Hybrid.
And
Kasi ano na yun
I
eh.
think the hybrid
Halo na yung ano,
have
yung
nothing to
lahi.
be punished, but some grown-ups didn't
Parang mga Pilipino din na
Japanese
mga
children.
hybrid na din, may halo.
and grown-ups also used to
Ako, sa totoo lang, meron akong Japanese blood din. Pero on the side of my mother, mga
Japanese people
dun.
thought that the mothers of hybrids are not good. They are horrible because they married with foreign people, foreign boys, and many Japanese people don't like to marry with foreign people because they live in different customs and they consider with different ways.
You still have a strong, may I say, prejudice in Japan against marrying people from other countries, don't you?
Well, yes.
Ibang lahi kasi ganun talaga pag gusto nila na ayaw na mahaluan yung lahi ng iba.
You've been telling
Yung kanilang lahi, gusto nila na sila lang at wala nang hahalong ibang lahi. Ganun yung ano.
Up to about 60 years ago, Japanese people thought that white people are horrible because they are almost red hairs and everything is so big about the bodies. And quite a few people still think so. And in Japan, we think that something to be beautiful must be small and delicate.
You can hardly apply the word delicate to some of the big soldiers we sent to Japan, could you? But I never knew that you looked down on us because we were big. That's very interesting.
We're always proud of if the Western men are tall and handsome, we consider that yes.
Oh, we're proud.
Taga-United Kingdom pa, ang bata pa. Pero ang ano eh,
Eureka, I've heard that
ang
the
laking bata eh.
speak about us as pink people instead of white people. It's so much more difficult to be proud of being a pink person, isn't it?
Oh, yes, you're a pink person.
Might as well face it, Judith. Here we are.
I feel scarlet.
Naughty, let's get...
I
Yes?
want to ask, Judith, since Philippines has so many colonies and, well, let's say, nearly all over the world, how do you feel towards the people in the colonies? Do you have some prejudice?
No, I personally don't have any prejudice. At least I hope I don't. But I know that a lot of Europeans think of the Asians, for example, as rather lazy. I don't mean to be rude, but that used to be the impression we had. You know, when we started our colonization, we thought we were doing good to you. I know that you disliked, for example, in Indonesia, you disliked the Dutch there. But they probably thought they were helping you.
They were not helping us. See, you mentioned that we're lazy. We're not exactly lazy, but they didn't give us a chance, see? And we didn't get experiments to build our country.
Well, Judy, I don't think all Asians are lazy.
No, please, you're misunderstanding me. I said that was a general opinion. Maybe not now. I hope certainly not.
General opinion, but, well, when it's not, it's, well, sort of wrong to say that they are lazy. Let's just say that they've got very flat feet that they can't lift them up. Because you've got to consider, for example, the climate in most of the regions in Asia.
Talino talaga eh, no?
Natural. You can't just work with all the warm climate around you. Of course, you'd always feel like fanning yourself or going to an air-conditioned theater or something else where it's cold.
Is there not only this difference of climate that explains a difference in tempo, but is there a difference in philosophy, too, that perhaps we in the West haven't appreciated, I wonder?
Well, as far as I know it, and, well, I think you've mentioned it in this program, that Indians think that they should never soil their hands.
Matured talaga yung boses niya, you know?
Admit that, well,
matalino talaga.
Collar jobs and swivel chairs. Most of us
Ako proud ako, naging Filipino ako.
graduates. We don't want to work with our hands. We want to have, well, big bosses and with pretty secretaries around us. That's the common
Kasi
thing.
kahit na ang bansang Pilipinas ngayon, parang naharap sa maraming problema, pero yung mga tao masayahin pa rin kahit na naharap na sa malaking problema. Lalo na ngayon dun sa yung nangyayari dun ngayon din sa West Philippine Sea.
They were in. But
Sobra ding nakakalungkot man isipin yung ibang teritoryo natin is agaw na ng iba.
We didn't get a chance to be.
Next day, natin yan.
that was when the Dutch were there.
Yeah.
Gagawa natin ng video reaction yung about dun sa West Philippine Sea.
And the colony.
Bakit ganun nawala yung mga ibang teritoryo natin.
Oh, now we're going right off the subject.
See, my friend from Malaya is very glad that Malaya will get the independence next year. She's very proud, and she tells everybody that Malaya is going to be independent next year. Do you think that if you do that to the other places, then you
Yes,
will make them satisfied?
Well, we hope it will make them satisfied. Every country wants to be independent. That's only natural. But there comes a point somebody to decide whether they're ready to receive their independence. But I know we could go off on another long argument.
So ngayon, parang wala na akong ngayon ng ganito na debate.
Do
No?
they think
Debate.
the most common or basic causes of our prejudices? Is it mainly skin color?
Well, maybe.
Oh, do you mean, for example, taking the American
Well,
trouble in the South?
I guess
Populating in-
taking the American side of it, it's just that the white people don't want to mix themselves up with the colored ones.
But what about the colored people? Perhaps they don't want to mix with the white people either.
Well, what about, since you brought up the American race problem, I'd like to ask you, is it as bad as you thought it was going to be before you came, or is it better or worse?
Well, I think it's what I've seen here and what I've heard while I am here and what I have read in the newspapers, it's just worse than I expected.
Don't you agree, Judith?
No, I don't agree. In England, we don't hear too much about the American problem, except, of course, when a certain case came up and the Supreme Court decision, we heard a lot about it then, but not too much. And when I came here, I had imagined from the Tiller case that things would be really terrible in the South. And I found that there's a real feeling of optimism here. I stayed in a Negro family, and I was able to see the position, really a bird's eye view of it, you might say. And the first thing that impressed me was that the Negroes themselves were not happy about the situation, but were pleased. They were grateful for what progress had been made, and they were sure that the situation would continue to improve.
Is that the 2 weeks you were in New Jersey that
yes,
you stayed in a
right,
Negro family?
when I was in a Negro family. I know that was in the northern part, and conditions are better there. And I was very impressed with that. They said it would be a slow process, but things were gradually improving. It was a matter of breaking down tradition, and I was very happy to find that.
I'd like to know some of your other experiences with, yes, Eureka.
I've never seen any evidences of racial prejudice in the United States, but I found out that most Negroes are laborers, and they don't have a high position on business. But I was very glad when I
Oh, dati.
Negro girl in South Orange, in Columbia High School, who was the vice president of the student council.
I'm glad you did, too. Yes, right now.
Here in New York and New Jersey, I don't see any racial segregation or something like that. But when we stop in Williamsburg and we stop in Negro school, I saw it's very strictly. I mean, the Negro school go to the special Negro, and I was talking to some of the girls in the school, and I asked them how they feel about being segregated. But they said that they don't mind about that, and what they want is equal rights. And there are some places that they can go, such as restaurant or some clubs. And I think that since all Americans claim and emphasize that America is the most democratic country in the world, and as long as segregation exists, I don't think it's a democratic. I mean, pure democratic.
Well, adding something to that, isn't it that, well, in the Pledge of Allegiance to the American flag, you mentioned something about, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation indivisible under God, with liberty and justice for all. Well, the last phrase just doesn't suit everything. I mean, with this segregation problem here and the discrimination against colored people, how in the world could you have liberty and justice for all? And in one of my hospitality periods, I didn't expect that even the kids could carry it that far. I had the, privilege, I should say, of attending one of the dances sponsored by one of the civic groups. And I just noticed that, well, it was a big dance floor, and all the white kids were assembled on the left side, and the most, shall we say, not strategic part of the ballroom, well, all the colored boys and girls were in there. And I never saw a white boy asking a colored girl for a dance, nor did I see a colored boy asking a white girl for a dance.
I had a nasty experience too. When I first arrived here, and I happened to mention to a group of young people that I was going to stay with a Negro family, one of the boys got up and walked out of the room. And I felt awful. I thought, well, we're in the north now, not in the south. And then when we did go into the south, I really came against it pretty hard. We went into this big store, and I was in the ladies' cloakroom, and I was washing my hands, and I was with a group of the eastern delegates, the rather darker-skinned ones like Ratnati. And I was standing a little apart from them, and this lady came up to me, and she pulled me to one side, obviously assuming that I was American, and she said, what are these Negroes doing in here? And I was so cross. And I told her as calmly as I could that I was with them and who we were. And of course her attitude immediately changed.
Ganda pa pakinggan yung English
Not against
ng
it face to face. You read about it in the
ng
news,
United
you hear
Kingdom.
about it, but you don't really realize the significance of it until
Accents.
it hits you in the face yourself.
I think the major cause of the prejudice is skin colors, and I think I don't know why, but I think the white people think that color people have dirty skin, and they don't have progressive culture, so the white people are the most great and wonderful person in the world. I think so.
On this matter of skin color, if you were here in the summer, you'd see lots of Americans on all the beaches trying to get brown.
Significant.
I wonder what that really means.
I think we white women have an inferiority complex. The Eastern women and the Negro women have a sort of reputation for being so beautiful.
I
And
guess
we're a
you
little
just-
jealous of them.
I guess you
Guys, no? Yun lang muna ang video natin sa ngayon. So, thank you very much for watching. Arigato gozaimasu. And please support Filipino vloggers, and thank you for watching. So, before you leave, please subscribe at click the notification bell para lagi kayong updated sa aking mga video. So guys, see you in the next video. Peace out. Bye-bye.